I saw your picture at the booth, and there's a uniformed man here waiting for you. And you smashed your camera on the wall from the fear and alcohol, and I was willing to take the fall. But you won't see me float, and you know I'll be sinking in. And you won't catch me running, try and catch me jumping. Whoa.
Batteries out. So what's nice is that you can set this up, and if you're waiting for something to happen, you can not have to really worry about going out and checking the batteries every morning, because more than likely they'll still be fine. I've been using this off and on for the better part of a week now, and I still haven't really even scratched the surface. The battery indicator is still showing, I think it's still showing completely full at the moment. You have a little motion detector here that will detect motion events when something walks in front of the camera, and you can have it do different things depending on how you have it configured. It comes with two mounting options. It's got a strap here for tying it around a tree or a post or something like that. It also has a little mounting bracket that you can install somewhere, and then it plugs into the tripod mount at the bottom. You can also use a padlock to secure the electronics from being opened. So as you can see on the clamp here, you can put a lock right in there. Of course, you could probably force it open with if you really wanted to, but it'll make it easier, at least for, or harder for someone just looking for a quick swipe of the memory card to get at it. So inside, it's weatherproof. It's got a nice gasket around the electronics here, and this seals up really tight as well. You can hear that really just snap in. So I think it'll survive pretty well out in weather. It runs on an SD card. What it does is it records to AVI video files. And like the time-lapse camera we looked at before, what it'll do is you can set it to record at an interval. So you could say capture a frame maybe every 5 or 10 seconds and continually write to that file all night. And what it'll do is either do that exclusively, or you can run it in a hybrid mode where it just does like a frame every 5 or 10 seconds, and then if it detects some motion events, it'll continually take pictures until those motion events cease. You could also just have it run in motion mode only, so that it'll only turn itself on and record something if something crosses in front of the camera. So you have a couple of different modes there. All right, we're just going to briefly run through some of the features of the camera. Right now it's set in hybrid mode, and that means it's going to take a picture every 10 seconds regardless of what this sees, but will also take more if something happens. Now, one of the things that I noticed with it is that you see where it says wait PIR. Basically, it's waiting on this sensor, I guess, to get heated up or calibrated or something. And what I found is that you have to wait a really long time for that wait PIR to go away, and you can't really start the camera recording or getting ready to record until that message goes away. So you kind of have to hang around and wait for that to happen. Then you have to go back and hit the OK button to begin the process of arming the camera for whatever it's going to do. So I'm just going to briefly step through a couple of the things that I found interesting within the menu system. The first is the capture mode, so you can set it to work in that hybrid mode where, again, it records a time-lapse video plus any motion events that occur. You can also have it just do motion, so recording function around 5 p.m. when everybody leaves, and then turns off at 8 a.m. when everyone comes back in, so you can have some flexibility there to not waste battery or recording time. There's a playback rate here. I recommend always running this in 30 frames per second because that's what most video systems like to play back at least YouTube, for that matter, likes to play back at that mode. There's also image quality settings. If you've got a big card, I got a 32 gig card in here, I would just leave this at the best setting. You can have it put a timestamp on there. You can also disable the little LED light here that blinks when the motion detector is sensing something happening. So let's take a look at some image samples, and I left this out in the yard overnight. And as you can see, when the sun went down and it got really dark out, it saw nothing. It was totally dark. But as the sun came up, obviously it started seeing more. The problem, though, is that the colors are completely off. And I'm told that's because they've tuned the camera to be very sensitive in low light conditions where it has a little bit of ambient light to work with. It'll see something, but it doesn't have night vision, so there's no way for it to really see anything in complete darkness. A lot of the other cameras I've looked at, security cameras that I've looked at, have those little infrared flashlights on them that nobody can see, but at least it can illuminate for a night vision sensor. And again, this is not a night vision camera. What I did do, though, is I tested the darkest spot in my house during the day, which is where where my closet where my dog was resting, and I closed all the doors up, left a little bit of ambient light coming in. As you can see, it actually took a pretty decent image. The closet, to my eye,